There are TIs all across the United States which have been mobbed, bullied, stalked. Many TIs live in fear of their safety because they're being followed around by people which they do not know and which have gone around a community harassing them through the utilization of stingray technology. When you are stalked and harassed, it is not only life-threatening, it's degrading because you're violating another human's rights. No human wants their space being violated. So when you're dealing with such types of people, it's important that you understand that these people are threats to not only public safety or schools and communities, but even themselves. I don't care what type of clearance, job they have. It's illegal. Just like COINTELPRO was illegal, this activity is illegal. If it's a gang, if it's some type of rogue group, it doesn't matter. No one has the right to do this to human beings and their families. So if you are a TI, I encourage you to get a gun. If you're mentally stable, you have sound mind, go out and practice. If you've been set up, or let's say you've been in trouble 20, 30 years ago and you can't own one, look at getting a cat ball gun from like the 1800s. And you can rig it up where it'll be good for chain fire. Somewhat risky. Never get a brass gun. Always get a steel gun. The brass ones can just pretty much explode. Very dangerous. You don't want one of those. You want to get one made out of steel. And you can get lead sheets and cast your own bullets and save money. It's a lot of money. It's very easy, very simple to do. It's a lot of fun. It's not safe. I mean, not good for like a close counter situation. But if you put it on chain fire in a life-threatening situation, you set it up like that, where it'll chain fire, it'll protect you. Also for those which can legally own, like throwing knives, throwing nails, you can cut the back off, file them down. You don't even have to cut the back off. And they're very effective. So it'll take someone down. If you throw it towards their heart, certain areas of the face, it'll freak them out. So I don't encourage violence, but in a life-threatening situation where someone's shooting at you, I encourage you to go zigzag through the woods or nearby objects, signs, trees, anything which should obstruct their view or make it harder for them to shoot you. I went through this in Austin, Texas, and it saved my life. I remember going zigzags. I remember as a kid being told this, and I did this. And I remember the bullet, I can hear the sound go right in front of me, and then another one, and it hit the tree. And I was thinking, my God, if that tree wasn't there, I would have been shot. And the Austin Sheriff's Department did not want to see my body cam footage. They didn't want to see anything that occurred. They're like, we're not going to help. They're pretty much, we're a fusion center partner and CIA partner, and they're not going to help you. It's like going to the police. They'll have these signs, service above self, and most of them just serve the fusion center. Not all police stations are like that, but that's been my experience at most. There's no help. So we're pretty much on our own. Federal agencies will slam phones. I have proof from the FBI, DHS, National Security Agency. Right now I'm in the process of doing a Privacy Act request with the FBI. I've already submitted it. Got another one with the CIA. So I'm hoping if there's any type of files which are incorrect, I can amend those files and request evidence of their claims. Because when you're a TI, this information gets shared with business owners at times. 8A business owners, people which have access to Fusion Center databases, and some of them may act very patriotic, like they're coming to protect their country from a terrorism threat. But what they don't know is that the person that they're harassing is someone which is online systematically asking for help. Right now, if I wanted to, this is no joke, I can go out and look for these people that are in the Eastern Lodge, worshipful masters and Masonic lodges. I could put on a uniform and say, hey, how you doing? Embrace counterterrorism. That's gangster stuff. That's sickening. That's what sick people do. I can get even if I wanted to, but I want to live here and I want to live with a clear conscience. I've been a target for 26 years, And I've never laid a finger on one of these perps. I've never harassed them. I've never shot at them. And I've shared this footage with the men's group, and they all told me, say, I'll be shooting those people. They're not getting away with this. Cops are supporting it too. This was like almost 20 years ago. And I'm still going through it. So I don't hurt these people. I don't harass them. And if you're a TI, wear a body camera. If you have to go to the hospital, let's say one of these people come at you. They come at you like this right here, with their hand underneath their back, about to grab a gun, and they pop up behind a tree. This has happened to me. If you're wearing glasses, you can tell them. You can say, hey, I'm recording. Walk ahead of me. Bear with me one moment. I'm about to order something real quick. So, if you're a TI, one strategy that I like to do is to turn my phone off when I'm headed to a place. Yes, I like to get a small gizzard box with some hot sauce.
A small gizzard, anything else?
That'll do it.
Drive on.
Okay. I didn't want them to record what I'm saying, or hear what I'm saying, so put this window up. So you want to be able to present a pattern of harassment due to the federal rules it's called federal rules of evidence is the name. And there's one term utilized for one code. It's a routine practice. I forgot the number, and you can add that to your tort. You can find it easily. Just type up federal rules of evidence, routine practice. And a group's routine practice can be utilized as evidence. Also, they're passed. So let's say that you are being systematically harassed by a group, and they are rotating throughout stakeholders and their relatives. You can sue them. Don't go out and kill them, but you can sue them. So for TIs that can't afford 60, 70, 80 grand for a lawsuit, no lawyer will take your case. If it's dealing with a federal agency, you have the Federal Tort Claims Act. I've mentioned that in the past video. It's for free. And that's the reason why a lot of TIs can't sue. They don't even know what the FTCA is. And these FTCA lawyers will take your case for free if it involves the federal government. But when you cannot prove it, and you know they're probably being outsourced, and you're being harassed by a lodge 60 miles from your house, a bunch of veterans, whatever. Well, in that case, I don't encourage you to operate outside the law and pull out a gun like, who do you work for? No. You're just going to get yourself arrested. Someone's going to get hurt. I know one TI that went that route and things didn't work out too good for him. And I know another one, and he claims to have shot the person. He told me, he said to the guy, information for your life. I want to know why you have followed me to 11 different places. And he told me he shot the guy. He later on deleted his account, never heard from him again. But he used to work for a defense contractor, and he had threatened to expose what they were doing. They were signing non-disclosure agreements, and they were targeting people. And when he threatened to expose it, he became a target. So if you're in a situation where you take down one of these active shooters, the first thing that you want to do is you want to call EMS, and you want to tell them, look, there's a threat that was subdued, that you had to utilize your stand your ground laws to protect yourself. Let them know that your weapon is in your vehicle and that you also seek medical attention, and ask them to also, call police. They'll both come. They're going to take you to the hospital. And the reason why you want to do this is because when you're dealing with active shooters and active shooter threats, gangstalkers, you want to be in a situation where they can check your vitals, your heart can be pumping a little too fast, and this will give you time for relatives, friends to examine your body, take pictures. So when you're in police custody, if anything goes wrong, they can say, you did this. They try to rough you up. You never know who their partners are. You never know what they're up to. So when you're in a situation as such, it is good to place yourself in a situation where you can be in a hospital that's going to prevent you from being in police custody. Police may say afterwards, after you get out of the hospital, we want to talk to you. You're not going to go to the county jail. You're going to be there for a little bit. You want to keep your conversation short and very minimal. Say, this is what happened. The person came up on me, had their hand underneath their shirt, tried to attack me, made me a death threat, whatever they said. And if you have video footage, that's even better. So you want to make sure that you're never the aggressor. You can't just put 50 shots into that person knowing that they're dead. They fall to the ground for a shot. But if they're up and you shoot one time, they try to go for their gun and you shoot them a few more times and they're still up and they're still trying to get their gun, you can still shoot again. But if you shoot them once and they fall to the ground, that's it. If you go any further, then they can say that, oh, you went over the line. Remember, you're not a cop where you have immunity where they get off the hook with it. If they were to do this, they'd be in prison. The ones that are shooting people 50 times. But if you do it, you shoot one of these people that are doing this, you want to make sure that you do not give too much information out. You get straight to the point. The person confronted me, followed me to 5-6 locations, walked up to me like they were going to harm me. I felt in fear of my safety, like the person was going to pull out a gun, and I shot them. You provide proof, like I have a car dash cam, here's the proof. They followed me to 7 locations. They walked up to my vehicle. I recorded them saying, sir, please leave me alone. I fear for my safety, whatever. And then from there, and then what's going to happen is you're going to be released. Do you know the reason why I know this? It's because I was used by a group of multi-millionaires for big projects, and I was the one that did their legal work. I was their expert. So I've taken courses through like Auburn University, University of London. I've taken a LexisNexis legal research. I've drafted documents for university students for their theses. I've done a bunch of paperwork for a lot of people. And the only reason why I have not sued is because when I lived in Austin, Texas, I was threatened at a law library. And then later it led to encounters with a lady that I discovered she worked for the FBI field office. She showed up at an appointment, a clinical trial. I was losing my facial hair, like a spot, it just fell off, my body hair. And I wanted to get treatment for it because it's incurable. It's not a disease, but it's due to stress. So this lady was following me all over the place. I was being harassed by a group called GS4, men with black suits and thin black ties, no tag, and black SUVs, showing up on bases, Fusion Center, constable's office. They even have friends in the U.S. Air Force, and they work on bases. They're into radical feminism, the transgender stuff, using Mexicans and Freemasons. So I ended up moving here to Florida, and I've been harassed in the same exact way, and I nearly was shot by a woman, and I told her, go ahead of me. She wouldn't have done that. I had a fishing pole, and I was also open, you're allowed to open carry in Florida, and I was in a very rural place. If she wouldn't have passed me and pulled out a gun on me, if she wasn't fast enough, she would have been dead. But I had prayed internally, and I was like, God, help me, guide me. I read the Bible. My faith is in the Lord. I don't hang out with scumbags. I don't hang out in bars and clubs. And this is a little diagram. I don't know if it's coming out. It shows a gas station, gym, tiki bar, Mexican restaurant, fishing spot, post office. They would harass me at every location, biking trail, every place that I like to go to. And they did this because they knew that when a person's life is toxic, they don't want to be here. So don't think about suicide. I'm against suicide. Think about leaving. Now, if I was to count how many times I could have legally taken these people out that are doing this, they would probably need to have a new memorial for the Central Intelligence Agency, where I would not even fear arrest or imprisonment, because they would have to let me go. Because I know the law and I abide by the law. But I refuse to hurt these people. I've never laid a finger on them, never assaulted them, harassed them, or pulled out a gun on them. For 26 years, I walk away. I don't really like guns, but I believe people should have the right to protect themselves from active shooter threats. People that are agent provocateurs and domestic terrorists that create the scenarios necessary, the situation necessary to promote violence in our country and schools. I've dealt with the CIA in multiple schools since my 20s to my 40s. So they are a domestic terrorism threat, but they have immunity. If I'm silent for a moment, it's because I'm ordering food.
So that was a small gizzard?
Yes.
Okay, that's gonna be 480.
All right. So me up rolled my window. I apologize about that. I'm ordering something. I didn't want to be talking while she comes about to pay. So remember, do not be the instigator. Walk away. Do not talk too much. You want to go to the hospital. If you end up in a situation where you're dealing with a group of these people, or they're coming at you with a gun, they're coming like they're going to attack you or harm you, you utilize your rights under your state laws. If you have stand your ground laws, you want to live in a stand your ground state, or a state that allows you to protect yourself. You want to carry a body camera. You never want to be the aggressor. You don't want to do like that movie J-Lo, where they crossed the line and she went to killing the perp. You want to avoid problems at any and all costs. You don't have to ever worry about arrest or imprisonment. When you keep your mouth shut, you share what needs to be shared. You know about the current case codes, stand your ground laws, you do legal research, you study the rulings, and you see what works and what doesn't work. And you abide by that. It's like for me right now, there's not a 1% doubt in my mind that I'll be sent to jail if I ever had to utilize the stand your ground laws. And the reason why is because I've been used for years by law firms. I've done gig work online. I've prepared a lot of documents for some groups which are multi-millionaires for serious projects. And everything that I've done, it's always succeeded. Now with this case of gangstalking, it is quite complicated because the people that are doing this are utilizing non-disclosure agreements, and they're doing it through outsourcing. And if you don't know who's outsourcing, and they're doing it secretly through 8A vendors, well, it's really hard to have a case. It requires a lot of ethical hacking and activities which are illegal, which I'm not doing. But at this moment, there are a variety of hacking groups that hack the enemy. I've gone online, I've seen some of these groups, I've shared stuff and told them what they're doing. So there'll be more leaks in the future, thanks to patriots and Americans. Do not believe because you see a U.S. flag outside an FBI office or CIA facility, they represent the people. They do not. They will never represent America or the ideals of America, because they have murdered people, killed people, and trapped thousands of people, created more terrorism cases than you can imagine. Either you're pro-government or you're anti-government. And I'm not anti-government. Hold on 1 second.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. Is there any hot sauce?
Actually, I gave it to you.
Oh, no. Thank you. So, I'm pro-government, but I'm anti-terrorist. I do not hate the government. I do not hate law enforcement. I believe we need more cops, a lot more. Good cops. Matter of fact, I would be happy if there was a cop in every corner of America. I have no problem with community policing or surveillance. What I have a problem is when someone's being singled out and being bullied and mobbed. That's unethical. When it reaches the point where people are being harassed while eating food or taking a walk, then I have a problem with that. Now you're crossing the line. And I'm just gonna be blunt. These people that are doing this stuff, they're people that have no idea that they're placing their lives on the line. Essentially what they're doing is human sacrifice, because they're flagging out at times emergency management partners, say this guy's a terrorist, a pedophile, a thief, show up at this gas station, and they may use Orlando emergency management and dispatch a cop in a different county to confront you. So these people that are doing this are being used believing in the system, not knowing that the CIA and its stakeholders can't be trusted. They have access to these resources and they use them at times. So in my opinion, I'm not going to say they are terrorism threats because I don't want my video to get flagged or banned, but I'm just going to be honest and frank. I believe and I know in my heart they're terrorism threats. I've dealt with them since my 20s through my 40s, and from what I've gathered, they utilize the U.S. Army a lot. They have young kids in their 20s with degrees. They have associations where they use cops, and they outsource through Kwanzas and civic groups, select partners, and they promote the necessary requirements to facilitate acts of terrorism and mass shootings. They know through years of research what it takes to drive people over the edge, and they get people to mob people and harass them. If I was to count how many times me and the CIA have bumped heads, it's had to have been way over 100 times. And if I was to count how many times I could have legally taken them out, I would say around 80 times. And the reason why I don't is not because they're the CIA, it's because, or I'm fear of them, because I'm really not. The reason why is because I'm nonviolent, and I hate loud noises, I hate blood, and I want to enjoy living. I don't want to have a conscience where I feel bad about having to protect myself shooting one of these active shooter threats. And I want to leave the United States. I don't want to be a part of terrorist activity, financial terrorism, social sanctions, mobbing, perversion. Our country's changing. And the CIA is supporting the same strategies it utilizes towards Russia on its people. And I don't want to be associated with that. Due to my religious beliefs, I believe that it's wrong for a government to provide material support to terrorism threats. What they did on the Tampa Highway in the early 80s killed Americans. Above the muffler, they had a white utility truck, and it dispersed chemicals through a copper pipe. And it would go through the back of the car's vents, and they would do research and run the tag to see what happened to that person. People died. And the CIA has immunity, no arrest, just like COINTELPRO in Operation Chaos. Say no to violence, say no to terrorism. Look at Russia, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Cuba. Look at countries which do not have a strong relationship with the U.S. TIs will say, oh, you can't beat this. It's everywhere you go. Well, don't go to UN countries, NATO countries. Declare political asylum. And through doing that, you will gain support and protection. Without doing that, you're going to be at the mercy of some of the world's most powerful terrorism threats and liars on the planet. God bless. Peace.